we're tokenizing human potential, one that's never been done. Last week itself, there was a founder that raised $18 million. His pitch deck had him as the CEO and ChatGPT as his CMO, Claude as his CTO, and Cursor as his supporting DevOps. And this is what we're going to see with AI in the next 12 to 18 months. We will see an exponential rise because it's just going to be so easy.
GM, and thank you for having me. Thank you for welcoming me in your beautiful home.
Yeah, GM, thank you. Thank you for taking the time and making the trip here.
Absolutely. Very excited to sort of get the bigger picture and understand what it is that you're building here. So if you could start with a little introduction on F3 AI, what is it? And specifically, what is the problem that you're solving?
We're tokenizing founder potential. We're doing this by working with founders, analyzing their profile, and creating a first-of-a-kind on-chain credit system for early-stage founders that helps them unlock liquidity through their proof of work.
Very interesting. And what inspired you to focus on that particular problem?
So a few years back, when I took my first swing at actually being a founder, I was challenged and hit with all these roadblocks, multiples of them: mistrust, wrong advice, no investments, lack of PMF, lack of go-to-market, like literally everything that I could think of that could go wrong went wrong. So I had a failed NFT project that never even launched, something that I've never spoken about. It was called 8-Bit Gods. It was in 2018 where I was taking a swing at let's make an NFT and see how it works. Of course, as a first-time founder, I didn't give much importance to the concept of community. Only after halfway through realizing that it's not just the product that sells, it's the community that backs it up. And that's where I went really deep down into Web3 and understanding how it works, why it works, what's the economy, and how it actually supports a founder and their vision to take an idea and build it into a revenue-generating business.
Is that where the sort of community and Solana element came together then? Fast forward from 2018. How did Solana come into the picture?
Yeah, it is. Interestingly enough, so I started my career in Web3, not like many people do. So I wasn't buying tokens. I wasn't really doing anything degen or NFTs. One of my first jobs was with Bean Crypto, doing B2B sales for media, for crypto projects. That's when I started reaching out to founders, their teams, and understanding what they were doing and what they were building. And from there, I pivoted and I got an opportunity to work with Mean Finance and Mean DAO as head of marketing. And that was my first entry into a protocol DAO on Solana.
So that's how it all started. And then you realized that, I guess, Solana has this strong, vibrant, growing community and you decided to stay in Solana? Or was it people that you met along the way that made you want to stay?
Yeah, so it's a mix of both. So really what happened was I'm a non-technical person. So I did not understand the tech at all. Neither did I understand the jargon. Neither did I understand white papers. So I was like, okay, how am I going to bring myself up to speed? And I went into the Solana dev Telegram group and I said, I'm starting an X Spaces. At that time, it was Twitter Spaces. And it's called Demystifying Web3. And I was like, here's a form, fill it up, and let's start hosting Twitter Spaces. There were two reasons for it. One was for brand building and marketing for MeanDAO. The second was really personal reason is I wanted to understand from the builders themselves on what they're building, why is it relevant, how does it impact others and on a global scale. And the way I wanted to approach it was by simplifying all the technical jargon. And in my first week, I got 3 signups, I was like, that's really disappointing. Nobody wants to talk to me. In the second week, I had 182 signups. So this lasted for almost a year of X Spaces. And that's where I built my relationship with builders, founders, co-founders in Solana ecosystem. And through that process, it just was very obvious at that point that people are really friendly. They're helpful. They're generous with their time. They're patient, which is not very common. And I'm not comparing that to anybody else, but Solana ecosystem is just built different, I think.
Over the years, I'm sure you've spoken to founders that have come from different ecosystems. You mentioned there that your way into crypto wasn't necessarily the most traditional one or the most conventional one. Have you spoken to founders that have had issues in other ecosystems and they've come to Solana and they haven't had these issues, or people that think Solana is just so different that they couldn't build a business anywhere else?
So it's interesting. So I've had both scenarios. I've had some founders leave Solana But I think they left Solana at a time when there was a panic, and that was the black swan moment for Solana. I think they just didn't have faith in the short-term dip. But I've also met a lot of individuals, builders, and founders that have pivoted to Solana just because of the support that Solana provides. And I think one of the most leading voices on Solana, even if you look at it apart from the leadership team, is Mert. He is literally out there every day for hours. He never sleeps. And he's just there rating everyone by saying, move to Solana, and I myself will help you onboard you.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So tell me then about the decision to build what you're building right now in lieu of all those experiences that you had and seeing people like Merit out there, bringing more attention, bringing more founders, more capital into Solana ecosystem. Was that part of the inspiration for building F3 AI and Founders Hub?
A part of it, yes. So a part of it was, and I think a big part of it still remains that. One of the reasons also being that Brandon from Convergence RFQ, the co-founder, is a very good friend. I take him as a mentor. He's been quite pivotal on the background for years, even after I moved from Solana, working for other projects on other chains, to be always that voice of reason, the voice of guidance. And he's just one of many that's there on the space. And that just, over the years, just compounded that trust. It just compounded that faith. And looking at not just externally, but looking at how internally everybody works, communicates, supports in the most simplest way. They're not beating around the bushes. They're not misleading anyone with saying, you go figure it out. In Solana, it's a bit different because everybody kind of unifies by saying, let me step in, whether even that's down to the code, whether that's down to technical challenges. And I don't think any other ecosystem really has that.
Clear. So let's zoom out for a second and think about the not so distant future. Let's say 3 years from now, what does Founders Hub look like?
I think less than that. I think less than 3 years from now, we'll see Y Combinator, we'll see Alliance DAO, we'll see some of the biggest movers and shakers in the world replicating Founders DAOs, Founder Hub Network's business model. The reason is really simple. We're tokenizing human potential, one that's never been done. We've tokenized everything. We've tokenized memes, we've tokenized assets, we've tokenized anything that we can think of tokenizing, where we've forgotten the people building those tokens and scaling those tokens and distributing those tokens, the founders themselves. And in this narrative, like if we look at 90% of startups still fail, 78% of them never find product market fit. More than 80% of them run out of runway. And it's not because they're bad founders. It's because these founders don't have the right guidance. They lack certain skills that are not being taught by most accelerators, incubators, or even VCs, which is soft skills. How do you manage your money wisely? How do you manage yourself in a time of crisis? How do you manage your team? How do you become a good leader? How do you operate a business in a lean yet efficient manner? And we're doing this by helping founders become better entrepreneurs.
So let's say I'm a founder or I'm an aspiring founder and I'm based here like yourself in Southeast Asia. What type of support mechanism can I find either through your project or through other projects that you've partnered with? What might assist me in becoming a successful founder if I'm based in this part of the world?
Quite a lot. So we do offer and we work with founders more on a personalized approach. So each founder we work with, we really take them through 3 steps. One is ideate, the second one is mediate, and the third one is curate. Sorry, it's ideate, curate, mediate, ICM. And what this really translates to is we would work hands-on with the founder, understanding what their challenges are, where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, what skills do they lack, what network do they lack, what resources can help them get to the next level, and we curate that for them. That's the second step. And once we curate it for them, we walk them through all the way to scaling, mediating to ensure that they're always in check, that they have all the right support, whether that is personalized workshops, group sessions, in real life meetups, whether that's meeting the right vendors, partners, suppliers, market makers. The list literally goes on.
Mm-hmm. Is there a sort of large and growing list of crypto startups, Web3 projects, more specifically, I guess, Solana projects based here in Thailand?
It seems to be growing now, as Thailand recently has introduced a new digital nomad visa. which has been really pivotal in almost motivating a lot more builders to move here to Asia, given the cost of living is quite economical. The weather is pleasant overall, except for the recent pollution, but that's a trade-off. And also that in Asia, you find really good talent. You find people who are hungry, they're driven, they're motivated, they want to make a name, and they're willing to go that extra mile. And this is where I think if you zoom out and you look at it, Asia seems to be the meta, not just on Solana, but across all chains, where they're like, Asia will be the new hub of crypto.
It certainly looks that way with Solana Breakpoint conference that happened for the first time in Singapore, and it was absolutely spectacular. You have, Cat Istanbul that just happened in Istanbul. Oh, yeah. Another one, Crossroads, is happening also in Istanbul in April. So I think the sort of epicenter of crypto is definitely shifting eastwards. But then you've got another argument that people are coming out with saying, hey, look, the new Donald Trump administration in the US is actually just sort of reversing some of that shift that we've seen over the years. Do you think, from your perspective, that the Trump presidency and the fact that they're going to make America more friendly to startups, more innovation-driven, is that a risk? Or do you think, the train is already in motion and the Thai crypto Web3 startup space is just going to grow regardless?
I think there is room for both. US being under the new leadership and direction is a net positive sign for growth, for adoption, for regulation, for opportunities, for liquidity, for investments. We're going to see more and more institutions coming on chain. Securitize is one of them quite recently that just moved to Solana, so that's a big one. And we'll see more of institution investments, institution products moving to Solana, and we'll see the same in Asia as well. Given that it's not just about whether it's Asia or East or the West, it's more about what ecosystem is a 360 ecosystem. Gone are the times where building on a chain was just here you get a grant and that's about it. These are your developer documents, go figure it out. Here's a Discord channel and we'll see what we can do. And now it's all hands on deck. And Sonat's leading that, not just on the narrative, but by actions.
Absolutely. I want to go back to something that we very briefly touched on. You're pioneering something called a minimum viable treasury model. First time I've heard of it. Can you sort of explain to me what it is and why it's important in today's environment? If you do want to have a startup here today, why is a minimum viable treasury different?
Right, that's a very interesting question. So we came up with the minimum viable treasury concept after looking and analyzing all the failed and successful startups over the last 4 years. What we identified is that there were certain differences between who gets funded and who can survive the bear market and those that cannot. And what really stood out was the teams that had treasury. They had a minimum viable treasury on hand and for disposal, managed to see through the bear market, which ensured that they actually were able to survive that and make it to the other side to be able to scale. And we looked at all the teams that are building now, and especially in Asia, where most of the builders do not really come from, let's say, a wealthy background. We realized that they're hungry, they're focused, that they're driven, but they lack the funds. And to empower them, we've come up with Minimum Viable Treasury, which is helping them also build a certain amount of runway that ensures that they focus on what they're building and shipping and not have to spend their time fundraising, pitching in front of others, having to go and make deals behind closed doors with VCs or vultures that seem to be taking all their equity and putting them into terms that they never understand, because a lot of these builders do not come from a legal background, neither can they afford one. So when they read a 16-page VC agreement or a term sheet, they think it's kosher, but it's not.
Right, that makes sense. So from what you're describing, it's sort of like a funding and runway management crash course, or you're stipulating that these are the conditions that you need to meet before you start building, before you start hiring. Is that a fair understanding?
That's correct, yes. It's that, and it's also helping them understand that you don't really need a lot of money, but you do need money. So one of the challenges with a lot of startups is when they get into fundraising state or the time when they're fundraising, they don't even have a legal entity set up. They don't have the right tokenomics. They don't have a legal opinion. And they're discouraged by saying nobody wants to invest in us. But you would have to be fundable and investable. And in order to do that, you would have to spend money. So you're now in a chicken and an egg situation where to raise money, you have to spend money, but you don't have any money. So that's where MVT comes in as the solution for that.
That makes a lot of sense. Is it something that you can assist with, going back to my earlier question of if I was to be a starter and I came to you, I said, this is the project that I want to start here. I'm a founder, but I don't have the financial expertise or the legal expertise. Can you help me establish a business here in Thailand?
Yes. So we work with 2 approved and authorized partners here in Thailand that help you relocate, get your right visas, documentation, and the whole 360 process. We also have partners in Dubai and Abu Dhabi that do exactly that. And now we're expanding to Singapore, we're expanding to Spain. So it also depends on where the founder wants to be, ideally, and why they want to be there. So a big part of what we do is education. We help them understand that it's not just chasing the meta, not because everyone's in Thailand might be the right case for you because you might not fit in well over here. So that's also a part of our ideation stage and curation stage that we work with them personally. So it's not like if 4 of his friends are here, he wants to be here. Great idea, but if you don't really, understand the culture over here, which is something that people need to also understand, that each country, each region has its own culture, has its own tradition, has its own way of moving around, communicating and behaving.
That makes a lot of sense. And you said chasing the meta there. I'm going to stay on that topic for a while because AI is such a hot topic now that everyone seems to sort of be slapping the word AI onto their company, whether it's just a Web2 marketing agency or it's a Web3 startup. The term AI, or the acronym rather, is just everywhere. It's ubiquitous now. So explain to me what the AI component of what you're building is, and again, how it's a little bit different maybe from what exists out there already.
Cool. So with us, we looked at AI in a completely different perspective. We look at AI in 2 ways. One is that it's all about automation and workflows. How can a founder, so something that I recently spoke about and published is that we'll see a rise in solopreneurs, completely powered and supported by AI. Last week itself, there was a founder that raised $18 million.
Yeah.
Right? And his pitch deck had him as the CEO and ChatGPT as his CMO, Claude as his CTO, and Cursor as his supporting DevOps.
Wow, I need his network.
So that was, and we're going to see more and more of those happening. With Founders Hub Network, that's what we're going with. It's all about automation. It's about creating an AI twin for each founder. So this is where it gets really fun. When we tokenize founders, what we do is we analyze their profile, we analyze their skills, and we then spin up an AI clone of them that goes out and communicates on their behalf, building a clout, building a personal brand, and building a reputation for the founder, while the founder is focused on actually doing what he or she does best, which is ship.
That's fascinating. So talk about getting attention to your project and building a community around the project, getting some noise. Obviously, AI KOLs are on the rise at the moment. You've got AI XPTs, I think the leading by mindshare at the moment. And there's this sort of understanding, at least on crypto Twitter, that due to the rise of AI KOLs, some of the more old school KOLs might not be around for as long as we thought they would be. Is that something you've factored into the project? Do you expect every founder to have their own AI KOL that's yapping on Twitter? Is that sort of how it's going to go?
I think we'll see a bit more bigger than that. So not only do we help the founders, we actually spin up personalized AI for them. So each founder gets his own AI CMO, a CFO, a CTO, and a COO, and along with Second Brain, which is his AI clone. And definitely we're seeing that where the real KOLs, the ones that take time to actually, as it translates to key opinion leader. And to be a leader, it means to do the hard things. Whereas what we see commonly on X or crypto Twitter right now are people who just copy paste everything and are just shilling. They don't really even take 10 minutes of time to personalize a research or share why what they're shilling has value, even if they're shilling it. So I'd rather listen to a degen shilling than listen to a KOL shilling.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. At least, I would like to see an end to this echo chamber of AI agents copy-pasting other AI agents, copy-pasting other AI agents. It seems like eventually people are going to get bored of that, and maybe there's going to be a bit of a shift back towards, as you mentioned, the real key opinion leaders who do take the time, who do the research, etc. So do you think that's a trend that we'll see play out in the next 12 months, 24 months? Is it going to be sooner? Are we going to see a sort of Cambrian explosion of AI KOLs and then it's going to crash? Or what are your speculations on that?
So I would use a bit of an analogy over here for comparison. It's almost like when you are in a school and you have a classroom and you have 5 classrooms. Each classroom has 20 students. Each of those 20 students has a task on Arts Day, let's say, and they go around creating certain artworks or certain sculptures. It's great to encourage everyone to be able to hone into their talent and creativity to create something. But in the end, as a teacher or someone who's identifying talent, you will be quite able to quite quickly identify which one has value and which one does not. And this is what we're going to see with AI in the next 12 to 18 months, where we will see an exponential rise because it's just going to be so easy. Right now, Shaw from Eliza OS has made spinning up an AI agent a 5-minute task, whereas last year it was a few weeks with a few crack devs being able to do that. And what we will see after this is the value for personalized, private, privacy-preserving AI that actually add value and financial gain to the owner, whether that is... So here's something that I was talking to my wife about quite recently. I was like, imagine we do this, and we might have an AI agent where I say, I have 1,000 SOL. I don't understand DeFi. What's the best way to get the best value for this SOL? And the AI agent would then go on scanning all documents that's on Solana and say, hey, how about you stake with Helios? You take the LST, you go into MarginFi, you can borrow against it, and then you double down on it. You can then go to Drift, leverage it for an X amount, and restake that somewhere else, which guarantees you or gives you like 30 or 40% per annum, right? APY. But as a person, if I tell her to do this, she would quit on the first screen. She'd be like, this is way too much for me because I don't understand any of these terms. I don't know if I'm clicking in the right place. And then also, I don't know if I'm getting scammed by a phishing link. One of the most important features no one's talking about in AI agents is AI agents that will be able to identify quite quickly phishing links, decreasing the number of wallets that are drained, decreasing the number of scams that take place, because prior to engagement, they would be able to verify if that link, if that domain is one to be engaged with or just a second scam. Like last week, I found the top 4 ranked soul scam on Google were all scams. So the top 4, when you search on Google for soul scam, the top 4 links are all scams. As soon as you go into it, it asks you to connect your wallet.
Unbelievable.
Right? I didn't realize this. So I was like, after clicking twice, I was like, why is it asking me to connect my wallet? And I realized that they were all scams. And it's exactly the same. It's soul scam.
Yeah.
Even for someone like me, it just made all the sense. And I was like, when I scroll down, the 5th one is the real one. So for an average normie, as we call them, or a non-Web3 user, if they hear about soul scam, they're like, okay, let me go and look at what my wallet has done, exactly like a bank statement. And if they were to go there and says, connect your wallet, now they don't have the education. So they would connect their wallet, which means that they would lose all the funds in there.
Potentially everything.
Right? Yeah. And they would then go back to by saying Web3 is a scam, because it's just the scammers that find the loopholes and the opportunities to scam innocent, less educated, less aware users. And a big part of that is education.
Right. So the rise of AI agents and AI KOLs can, definitely increase education, help us prevent newcomers from getting scammed. That's all good. There are clear benefits. There's a lot of upside to it. But what's the biggest risk in your mind associated with this?
One of the biggest risks that we keep seeing and we keep talking about is the privacy. A lot of us are still quite ignorantly sharing our information, personal information, data, with a machine that we really do not know how it utilizes it. We're quite confident when we ask it for a prompt, and we're like, wow, this just did my whole research in 5 minutes. But when you zoom out and you think about it, wait, how did it get access to all that information? So that means that it has information on you. So privacy-preserving AI models, LLMs, are going to be a pivotal point. Anyone that's integrating and taking that as a priority will be leading the narrative and the mind share.
So let's put that into perspective then for founders who are building in a very competitive, rapidly growing environment that's also quite cyclical, as crypto is, and we have all these privacy concerns. but then you're also creating a digital twin of yourself. How does this privacy preservation fit into that plan?
Okay, perfect. I think since we didn't really speak about this the last time, so I can share this now. We've just partnered with Nillion and with Radar AI. They're both leading in blind computing and privacy preserving for AI. And we're working with them hands-on, where they will be helping us manage every user's privacy, their data in a manner that is not corruptible, that is not composable, that has access only to the point that it brings value, and the user always owns all their data. And this was one of our reasons for delaying what we did, because we did not just want to jump on the bandwagon and say, here's 5 AI agents from Founders Hub Network, because that would last for a very short time and would feel like a pump and dump.
That makes sense. So you've actually gone out there into the market and found the right partners to make sure that the product and the service and the platform you're offering is privacy preserving.
Right. Because for us, we look at every product that we're building as not a pivotal product or changing by the meta, but rather putting in the foundation now and make it open source so that others can come in and actually replicate what we're doing so that it actually grows. The way we see what we're building is for the better of others while making money, while profiting from it. But in order for us to sustain that, to survive and to scale and to tap into distribution, we'd have to do it in a way that we think about what would AI look like in 2 years from now, what would the pros and cons of that would be like, and we're heading in that direction.
That makes a lot of sense. Talk to me then about some of the other partnerships that you have, some of the other partnerships that are in the pipeline. Is there anything that we can look forward to in the coming 6, 12, 18 months? What are you working on?
Oh, wow. Okay, great. So I think this is going to be fun. One of the first things we're doing is we're launching our MVP on February 8th. With that, it's the first AI Quest platform, so it's called Optimus AI. The Quest platform really behaves as a due diligence engine, which runs the same amount of due diligence on any founder in 5 days, what we see would in 6 months, and creates a scoring system for them, which then curates workshops, masterclasses, one-on-one advisory, and resources for each of the founder, ensuring that they are measured, they're empowered in a way which eliminates all biases. Along with that, we are launching our F3 AI DAO with DAOs.fun, where we will be tokenizing early stage founders and their clones and helping them raise their MVT and investments. We're partnered right now with Open Campus. So we're building with Open Campus as well, because they have a very strong narrative on on-chain credit system and education. And we see that same being replicated for founders, but not just the founders, but also partners, vendors, and community. So our platform is not just for the founders. We have a different side to the platform, which educates the users, which empowers them, which teaches them who the startups are, who the founders is, what are they building, what's their background, why should you commit to them, and then create opportunities for them. We have Decode Block, which is educating Web2 builders into Web3 developers. Interestingly, I'm an advisor to them, but they're also my CTO. So that's where we see collaboration. We hired all of our team through them by organizing a hackathon, which had 5,000 participants, and we hired 5 team members. We have a hackathon for AI coming up with GDA Capital via Alpaca Network starting February 15th. So we'll be hiring more team members there while also deploying capital to identify really talented people. And the partnership list really goes on. Like, we're quite excited about for the next 12 to 18 months. We see us starting with Solana and then merging into Open Campus and then really unifying these chains, being able to quite quickly and efficiently get that talent pool coming from Web2 developers into Web3, potentially into these ecosystems, and be the bridge to guide them, to help them to understand what it means, but also help them feel like they belong there.
Exciting. And in the next 6, 12, 18 months, are there any particular partnerships or announcements maybe that we can look forward to hearing? And what's the sort of time frame on those?
Yeah, so we have quite a few. So we've just closed our angel round. We'll be announcing our backers in a few weeks once they're all official. We have a very strong advisory board as well. We have Ravi Agarwal from Polygon as our advisor. We have Vijay Perveen from BitsCrunch as our advisor. We have Brandy Evans from Animoca Inner Circle as our advisor and angel investor. We have Brandon from Convergence as our advisor, and that list is really growing. The way we see advisory is also we're trying to bring in the best of the best in that niche specific, so a legal, an operations, a tokenomics, go-to-market, a distributor, an investor, and really putting all these individuals into a room, creating one of the best and the strongest think tank. With partnerships and rollouts, we have quite a few happening. Some of them that I did share was DAOs.fun. We're quite excited about. Also over here, I think we might be early, but Bao's going to kill me. DAOs.fun is launching second DAO for founders only, which will help founders build their MVT, whereby founders will be able to airdrop a certain percentage of tokens to their treasury and be able to create a runway and scale their business from there, building really another way of tokenizing founders. We're really excited to be launching with them on that. And we're also looking at potentially going into scale, launching our NFTs over there, which then builds out a reputation system, and also with Mocaverse.
That's a lot indeed. Very busy pipeline. Where can we follow along with all these developments? Is it Twitter? Is it Telegram? Is it Discord? Where should we go?
So we decided not to go with Discord for a few reasons, because we realized that when there's a lot of noise and a lot of conversation happening, users lose attention. Founders are limited on resources and attention and time. So we've really narrowed them down into one private Telegram group. We are very active on our X. So are we on LinkedIn? And also on Medium, so we share all our updates there quite regularly. So you can find us there on F Hub Network.
Awesome. Thank you so much for making time to talk to us today. I really appreciate it. And we'll be keeping up to date with all those developments as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jack. Appreciate it.